Well, hello there again. Are you ready for your daily dose of Cyberpunk 2077 news? Let's do this. So this is the headline right here. The unpatched version of Cyberpunk 2077 reportedly has severe problems. And I was kind of like, oh no, what's going on with Cyberpunk 2077? So I did a lot of digging into the story for you all. And guess what? There's actually really good news about Cyberpunk 2077, especially after that initial 43 gigabyte patch. We're going to be talking about what exactly that did to the game, because it did actually add some really cool features for the PS5 and Xbox Series X. We're also going to be taking a look at what fans are saying about the game that have actually gotten their hands on time with the game pre-release. We're not talking about reviewers or influencers. We're talking about people off the streets, so to speak. So we're going to be looking at loading screens, bugs, crowds, map size, how long the game is, so much stuff in this video. So let's do this. Hey everyone, what's happening? Overworld Games here. I hope you're doing good, and we're going to dive in right now. First of all, starting here at the beginning with this story. So this is what it says. Currently 6 hours into the game on Xbox Series X, and I just now got to the title screen. This is a big game. Population density is way higher than I was expecting, runs at 60 frames per second with some frame drops. The game is very buggy, like repeated crashes, dialogue not just being played sometimes. I've had the controller become completely unresponsive, and he goes on and on and on about the bugs. He says this game really needs a patch, and then he says this, but when everything works right, dude, the game is amazing. It lives up to the hype. It really does. Guess what? He was hit with the 43 gigabyte patch. Let's see what happened. He says this: I just received a 43 gigabyte update, and a huge majority of the bugs I mentioned were patched. Great news there. I love that they're going after these bugs and squashing them even before a lot of us are going to be experiencing this game. Remember, there's going to be that day one update, that day one patch as well. So that's another round of bug squashing, I guess you would say, that they're going to be doing. And I think they're going to be releasing patch after patch. Now, that update actually did some really cool things to the PS5 and Xbox Series X versions of the game. Let's take a look. He says this: I leaked the information last night, and I wanted to update and tell everyone that the performance mode was just added about an hour ago. Less popping, less frame drops, and other bug fixes are making the game run much smoother now. Now, also updated and include new HDR settings, performance mode, toggle on and off. Now, if you're wondering, Robbie, what in the world is this performance mode? So basically you have two settings. Performance mode is going to push your 60 frames per second. And then the other mode is going to be more for fidelity, you know, the actual texture quality and stuff like that. And frame rate is going to be less of a concern. So you have one mode, performance, which is going to hit that 60 frames per second. And then you're going to have that 30 frames per second mode as well. So let me know what mode you guys would prefer. I'm actually playing Demon Souls in performance mode. I love the 60 frames per second, I'm not going to lie. But then again, I'm playing Spider-Man Miles Morales in the fidelity. So yeah, it's up to you. Let me know what you make of that one. Now, we have some first impressions as well from another fan of Cyberpunk 2077. This is Dreamcast Guy. He says, yesterday I played Cyberpunk 2077 for 12 hours straight. Just want to say this: combat is very fun. I'm playing stealth and using rifles. Body tech upgrades are cool, but expensive, so I don't have many yet. Riding has literally taken my breath away a few times. It is so great. And so far I've heard that twice, that the riding is amazing, and I love to hear this. So yeah, I am super hyped about that. Furthermore, we have Daniel who says this: I got my copy of Cyberpunk 2077 Collector's Edition yesterday. I can confirm resolution versus performance mode on Series X. Performance run much smoother than quality. Hard to say whether it's just an uncapped frame rate or targeting 60. This is pre-day one patch. So yeah, he had an image out there that CD Projekt RED went after. But anyway, yeah, it's good news to hear that the next-gen console versions, at least on Xbox Series X and PS5, will be running at 60 frames per second. Nice. I honestly wasn't expecting that, to be blunt. It's cool that there's going to be options with these next-gen consoles. It appears with most games where you can kind of target fidelity, that 30 frames per second, higher texture quality, or performance, 60 frames per second, you know, less texture quality, but you really want that solid, smooth butter frame rate. Again, I'm curious, what do you guys prefer? All right, we have more opinions here. He goes on to say this, the guy that got his hands on the game, Scorpo187, he says, it's still a fantastic game. CD Projekt RED is an amazing dev. Bugs can be fixed, bad game design can't. This is a well-made game. It'll only get better with time. The bugs don't bother me none. I love the damn game, and so will you. Man, that gets me so freaking hyped to hear such good news coming out of people that are playing the game outside of press, outside of influencer opportunities. That is awesome. Furthermore, he says this, most big buildings I've entered have been like skyscrapers that you can take an elevator loading screen up to the few accessible floors. But I've only played about a dozen hours, so I haven't seen most of the map yet. And you got to remember, with loading screens, a note on that, CD Projekt RED did say that they will be releasing an update to the, you know, backwards compatibility mode. So if you take your PS4 copy and play it on PS5, they're going to actually offer PS5 players an upgrade. So I'm curious if we're going to be seeing no load screens in the future. I'm hoping that there's no load screens whatsoever. I'm hoping that's what they're targeting. All right, let's talk about crowd density. He says, yes, time of day definitely affects population density in the city. Also, there currently isn't any performance options you can change in that regard, it seems like, lower crowds. It says the footage of CD Projekt RED showed was a terrible representation of it. Crowd density is great. So he says it's even better than what you've seen in a lot of the footage showing off the crowds. Maybe that was a way for CD Projekt RED to kind of protect themselves during development. Like maybe internally they were like, you know, we don't want to show too much crowds just in case we need to scale it back in the future. But it seems like that is definitely not the case. All right. Good news here, the map size does not feel small at all. So that was confirmed by him, and I've heard that also several times as well. So I think you don't even need to be concerned about the map size whatsoever. Now, there was a really interesting post recently discussing how long the game actually is, and it was like this entire equation this guy did. He said, so it took the GameSpot previewer 16 hours to reach the Pacifica quest, which is basically midway through the game. He pointed out this. He says, I'm not sure if this has been pointed out, but I have read the GameSpot preview, and they said that they just did the Pacifica quest, which was shown in last year's E3. And it was mentioned that it's in the middle of the part of the main story, so I will assume that it took them around 16 hours to reach it, which means the main story is going to be around 30 hours, I guess. That's an interesting deduction right there. What we do officially know about the length of the game is that it's going to be shorter than The Witcher 3. CD Projekt RED went through their analytics after everyone played The Witcher 3 and discovered that people were quitting the main story, which was super disappointing to them. They wanted people to finish the story, so they were like, hey, we got to make Cyberpunk 2077's main story shorter, but somehow this game is going to be even bigger than, you know, The Witcher 3. Now, you got to remember The Witcher 3 can be played like 25 or 200 hours, so that is very diversified when it comes to playtime, and that's like a speed run versus a slow burn. And I think a lot of you are going to do a slow burn and enjoy yourselves for sure. Now, on average, The Witcher 3 is reportedly around 25 to 50 hours when you are talking about the main campaign. So that's what was kind of confirmed here, but again, you know, there's only guesstimates with this sort of thing. But I'm going to assume perhaps that this game, Cyberpunk 2077, it's sounding like it's somewhat in there between the 40 hours or so to 50 hours if you just breeze through the main story. That's not confirmed, of course. I'll keep you updated on, you know, what happens there, but expect, you know, over 100 hours of playtime in this game. A lot of you, most of you, will not be breezing through the main story in Cyberpunk 2077. You're going to want to invest in buying new cars. You're going to stumble upon really cool side missions, and I've heard that the writing in this game is absolutely excellent, even for the side quests, so you're going to want to definitely check those out. You're not going to want to skip content in Cyberpunk 2077. And then there's also the entire world exploration. in the game as well. Let me know if a shorter main story campaign than The Witcher 3 bothers you. Sound off in the comments below. You know what time it is? It is time for top comments. You guessed right. Let's do this. Remember, leave a comment down below. It could end up right here in a video. Jalen Cook says, every time he says your daily dose of Cyberpunk 2077, it sounds like I'm taking a drug. Red pill or blue pill? Alright, Aiden Fowl says, I was 11 years old when this game was announced, and now I'm turning 20 in 2 months. My pre-order has been active for 513 days. That is devotion. That is freaking amazing. And a lot of you thumbs up that one because you've experienced a similar story. Tyler says, just a theory, but I don't think COVID cases would have risen as high as they have been if CD Projekt RED just released Cyberpunk back in April like they originally planned. That's actually an interesting point. No joke. I kid you not. Vamp says this, they should just release it. I've seen a lot of cool images from people playing it right now. Yeah, you know, people are leaking stuff, so just be careful for sure. Alright. Leiden Corbin says, never understood the point of those books. And he's talking about the guidebook. I showed you guys that there's a 400-page Cyberpunk 2077 guidebook. And he says, where is the fun in an RPG game if in just following a book's guidelines? The whole fun of an RPG is the picking what feels right to you and seeing how it pans out. Yeah, exactly. And that's kind of, you know, with the guidebook, you got to be careful with that, of course. Thankfully, this guidebook in particular is going to have spoiler warning, so that's good news. But I totally get where you're coming from. A lot of the games that I like, they don't hold your hand at all. Demon Souls, Dark Souls, Bloodborne, those being like really prime examples of that. I love that, how you're kind of like wandering on your own, trying to figure things out. All right, we have Dennis Roy, who says, I'm definitely starting with Street Kid. Feels like that's a style life that would fit me best. But in my opinion, this could probs also be the best one to start with if you want to get used to the game. Corpo seems like it will be more fun once I know the game and how the world of Cyberpunk works, while Nomad seems like it will be more of a heartfelt story since you're from the Badlands. Yeah, I see that a lot of people are curious about Badlands. That's one thing that I'm noting. God, I'm still undecided. It's crazy. I don't know what I'm gonna go for. And it's killing me. I know the game is coming up, and to still be undecided is just really a pain. Now, the Corpo, as I understand, the rumor is they could possibly have access to really cool technologies. So I'm curious. We'll see. We'll see what I choose. Corpo sounding interesting to me more and more. We'll see what happens. But thank you all so much for watching. Stay tuned for more Cyberpunk 2077 news updates. Hope you enjoyed the video. I will be back with your daily dose of Cyberpunk 2077. Thanks for watching. Take care, and I will see you next time.